Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Charlie McCarrick. Charlie, it's great to connect with you. As we talk, I know you're on Martha's Vineyard, which is great. I was just talking to you right before we started about Julie Vanderhoop from Orange Peel Bakery. Interviewed her years ago after being at her bakery on Martha's Vineyard with my wife. It was amazing. But I'm excited to talk to you. You're the founder and CEO of MicroAnt. Quick bio on you. You're an inventor. You're an entrepreneur. Lead visionary at MicroAnt with more than 10 patents to your name. You pioneer and supply unique equipment to the communications industry. We'll dive into all of that. I really want to get started. And as a business coach, I work with people all over the globe who are successful and stuck, and I work with them to get unstuck. So I always like to kind of kick things off where talking to business owners like yourself, where's a recent stuck that you had and how did you get yourself unstuck?
Yeah. First of all, John, thank you so much for having me. And that's a really good question. I never really had contemplated points where I had gotten stuck in my career, although I have seen many others get stuck. Since starting the company, I had been so busy at trying to keep things moving, trying to keep my head above water and all that. There wasn't really an opportunity to think about getting stuck. But as time went on, the company grew and the jobs got bigger. I'd say that we've had times when we've gotten stuck, and we're kind of in that stuck area right now. And here's why: it's instead of doing the single hit, the base hit jobs, now they seem all be home runs or nothing, meaning that there's an enormous layout of cash on the company. So there's a cash drain when we take on these jobs. They're long development efforts, and I have to keep staff and assets going until we are able to ship an invoice. And so product development cycles that took, say, weeks, a month or two, now they take many months. Now they take years, even 2 or 3 years. And so I'm kind of stuck now in having to have enough cash on hand to fund those jobs, as well as being able to manage a team that is able to execute them.
Yeah, right. I mean, those are two big things, right? So you're talking about cash flow, which we all need, the influx of cash to run our business, and then managing the people, right? And keeping them engaged. And so what's one thing is to me, when I talk to clients about this, it's all about forecasting and then working backwards. And so what's one thing you do to kind of forecast and then reverse engineer that to kind of set the flow of everything that you just shared?
Well, forecasting is one of those elusive things. You would think that customers could give that to you, but they can't, and if they do, it's you'd be better off having no information than prepare, because I mean the market is it just doesn't have that kind of a stability, so you can't really predict that far in advance. And if you look in the rearview mirror of what you did the year before, that's certainly no better. So in terms of forecasting, when we do a development project, and we try to do it in bites so that we have progress payments along the way. So let's say that we have a development job that's going to last 1 year. So we're going to want to have checkpoints and milestones at least every quarter, where we can get more cash to keep the project flowing. So rather than get one lump sum at the end of the year, we might break it up into 4 individual payments and have something. So in terms of trying to forecast in that way, now we can forecast in terms of the project, that's in hand. We have a lot of product also that is it's not really a commodity, but we sell it. We sell it to a number of different customers, so we can count on a certain amount of residual sales from that. So we can do some forecasting, but it's a really good question. And forecasting has always been elusive to us, and but all we can do is manage what we can manage, and to bring in house.
Yeah, I've always found that when I was running businesses or other businesses or my business, forecasting is kind of like you forecast, and this is how I work with clients too, is you forecast and then you kind of set like a couple minutes every day to kind of revisit the forecast and see, where the winds are blowing and how to kind of, just, evolve it and adjust it as needed as you look at the headwinds that are coming, at the industry, at the business, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it, Charlie. Let's talk about your book. I love the title of your book, and I want to kind of dive into that because I think people really learn. I know I do, and I hear a lot of feedback from clients and people who listen to Think Business is that, people learn from lessons, and the lessons inherently have a story within all of them. And so what if you had to pull out kind of the number one lesson from your book, Lessons My Brother Taught Me, what would it be?
Oh, really good question. I have yet to be asked that one yet. The other thing about lessons is, at the time, you might not realize it's a lesson until you look back and say, I went through something similar once.
Yeah.
It comes down to two of them, but I am going to use the one, recall the one when I went fishing with my brothers. I was about 4 or 5. Now, when I said I went fishing, I tagged along. I don't actually remember being able to fish or anything, but I did get to help carry the fish going home. And so this are my 2 older brothers, Hank and Bill, and they brought me along. And I'm helping to carry the fish, and they're carrying the fish, and we're just about halfway home. And they forgot something back at the pond we were fishing, and they had it for some reason. They both had to go back and get it, and they left me to keep an eye on the fish. I was sitting next to this drain pipe that went, that was uncovered, like an uncovered manhole, and it just went straight down, to the center of Earth for all I know. And as they left, they said, "Do not throw the fish down that drain pipe. We're going to beat the hell out of you." And 2 things. One is, I had no intention of throwing the fish down the drain pipe. It was the last thing on earth I would have done until they put the thought in my head.
Yeah.
And the second is, okay, what was the reward for not throwing the fish down the drain pipe, right? It's a sort of a negative reinforcement. I don't get the hell beat out of me. So as soon as they left, I threw the fish down the drain pipe. Perhaps to this day, I don't know why I did it in the mind of a 5-year-old. It seemed like the logical thing to do. I said, well, maybe that's what they wanted me to do.
Right.
Tell me about it. And so, when they came back, they did, in fact, beat the hell out of me. And they also tried to make me go down the drain pipe after the fish, which I screamed bloody murder. And so I managed to escape that. But the reason I like that lesson is because I have worked with managers in the past who also use the stick instead of the carrot, meaning that instead of pulling you along, they try to push you through and say, you get the job done, or else, you're gonna get embarrassed in front of the entire company. So I know that those managers are ineffective. I know that people are not motivated that way. And so I point out that lesson as a thing that actually took place in my company once with a manager that we had. Essentially, throw the fish down the drain pipe and we'll beat the hell out of you. And guess what? That's what the employees will do. They'll throw the fish down the drain pipe, and I'm right there with them. Because that's just no way to incentivize.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because what I'm hearing you say is, we're talking about heartfelt management, right? And I think sometimes when we talk about that, I always like to kind of explore and discuss. I talk to my clients a lot about this. I work with, Charlie, salespeople, managers, executives, C-level execs, and business owners. And, a lot of times when I'm coaching them, it's, hey, you can be kind and firm, right? And you can have a high level of accountability and authority without being an authoritarian, and still connecting people to themselves, their vision, and do it while being kind along the way, right? And so talk a little bit about how I had somebody who I worked for once who would always say, oh, you need to kind of raise your voice more, or this. And I would say, well, if I have to raise my voice, then I'm doing something wrong. And so, what does that mean to you?
You're right. I mean, leadership is not about body mechanics. It's not
Correct.
about the volume of your voice. It's less about what you say than how you say it. Right.
Correct.
Everything you do has to come from compassion. People know, from childhood whether a person cares about them or not. Right. And so, how do you show somebody that you care about them? You care for them. You don't go through the mechanics of caring for them. You actually have to care for them. And in terms of leadership, there's a big, the difference between true leadership and what takes place management inside of a company. You might have an organizational structure where people are obliged to report to a particular leader, and maybe it's in their pay grade or their job description, what have you. And that is not necessarily I would say a garden for leadership, right? That's just an organization or a structure that takes place. Take it now that you're with I was a musician with many rock bands, and generally I turned out to be the leader. Not that I said, okay, I'm the leader, guys, and we're going to do this. And I had a loud voice and I yelled the most. People respected my opinion. They knew that I was unbiased. They knew I always had the best interests of the band in mind. And the band succeeded, I succeeded, we all succeeded. And so that's generally how it, I would become the default leader. And a good leader knows that they're serving, right? They're serving a purpose, and they're serving the people that are willing to follow their opinion.
Yeah.
It's no difference when you're on the job, right? Forget about the role, the responsibility, or the job title. The important thing is you're working, in an environment also where you need to show, look, we all want to succeed here, and I want to serve in such a way that we are able to achieve that purpose. So a good leader will understand the objectives, right? And play a large role in making sure that the strategies fit within the culture of the company.
Yeah.
And then monitors the tactics through the managers. So I think that is what effective leadership is. And I think that's what successful leadership is. And personality and character are not just a part of it, they are all of it. Yeah. And I think that I'm not the CEO, by the way, I'm the president, and I've held just about every position in the company. But I think people would have agreed that I was, whatever my role or title was, that I was always essentially the leader. And I've always felt that way because people have always come and asked me my opinion. And I'm happy to serve them in that way.
Yeah. So rewind with me for a minute, right? So you wrote this book about lessons from your brothers, but before there were you, before there were your brothers, there were your parents. And so rewind for me, kind of like where you learned a lot of this, just, like you said earlier, we learn at an early age, who cares about it? So at what early age did you start kind of experiencing and feeling this from your house?
Well, there was such a gap in age between my older brothers and myself and my younger brother. They almost seemed like adults compared to me. So they had that adult authority, right? But they were also engaging in very interesting and exciting things with a variety of experiments and whatnot. And I might be the subject of those experiments. And the rules that apply between siblings is a lot different than the rules that apply between parents and siblings. So imagine, a household where there's 5 boys running around like maniacs. And then my oldest sister, who was the oldest of all, trying to stay away from that. Now, my father passed away when I was 9 years old, very young. Yeah. And so that was a long time ago. And so I don't have a strong memory of him growing up. And even at that time, he was out of the house a lot. He was an engineer, and he would leave in the morning before I got up and then come home right before I went to bed. The thing that I could remember is trying to get up early enough to give him a kiss before he left, because he wore Old Spice, and I love the smell of Old Spice. So that's the enduring memory that I have of my dad. So now, as you can imagine, now my mother trying to keep all of us in order, and there was 4 of us, eventually 5 boys in 1 bedroom before we were able to move into the larger. into a larger house. And so you can imagine the chaos that took place in there behind closed doors. They made guns that shot rubber bands, and and they create amusement parks and did all these experiments, and forever setting things on fire and providing us with electric shocks. The things that all brothers do to the other brothers.
Wow, it sounds. I'm so sorry about your dad, but living in that room sounds fun. I shared a room with my brother for some time, and we had a blast. It was fun. Yeah.
The memory I have of that room was always pitch black.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if either it didn't have windows or they covered them with something. So it was always dark. And we would go to bed with them scaring the hell out of us and waking up with them scaring the hell out of us. They just enjoy that. Enjoy that, pretending that they had cut their eyeball out, or, and then shooting each other a gun. And if you got shot in a gun, with a rubber band in the face, it was your fault, because you should know better than to expose your face when you're going to get hit and shot. Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, that sounds fun. All right. Let's talk a little bit about your business. Microant. I talk a little bit about, I want to hear about the patents that I mentioned earlier, and the company, what you do and who you serve.
Okay. So I came up with the name Microant because we design antennas, and we design antennas in what's called the microwave spectrum. The microwave spectrum are the frequencies that cover roughly 1 gigahertz up to 40 gigahertz. Some would argue it's lower and higher than that, but in terms of what we do, it's pretty much in that band. And the antennas that we do are not commodity. They're generally all custom for a very specific application. In the early days, I did commodity antennas for cell phones, DirecTV, and that sort of thing. But as time went on, I found that the real money and the real challenge were in the commodity, in the non-commodity, the so-called custom antennas. And these can be very high-end, very expensive, very difficult, and generally nobody else in the industry wants to do them. So we would have very little competition in that regard. And so we would bring a value when we were ever engaged, because we were going to do an antenna that they wouldn't be able to get done themselves, our customers. And so we were going to be bringing something unique. When you bring something unique to the market that has value, then you've got really staying power, right? So that was us, and that has been us over the years, and we've continued to grow the business following that model. We do some other, we would have one customer, one product type thing, and we built a big portfolio of customers, each one of them having custom products. But over time, we would sell multiple products to different customers, and multiple customers to a single product. So we were able to get some residual revenue that way.
Yeah.
So in terms of the company, I started it right after I was a casualty in a merger gone horribly wrong. And it's not a merger, an acquisition. Then I started my company within a week of that taking place. That was roughly a little over 20 years ago. And so we've grown in size since then. We operate in Jacksonville, Florida, where we do all our design, manufacturing, including a very large state-of-the-art machine shop, because most of the materials that we make our antennas from include metal and machinable plastics. So we have to do those all in-house.
Nice. All right. Well, I appreciate that review. And your website can be found at micro-ant.com. Let's do a quick speed round. All right, here we go. Book that's had the biggest impact on you, Charlie.
4 Agreements.
The best. I've read it 6 times, and every time I read it, it's like I've never read it before. What do you love about the book? I love it. It's one of my favorites.
I do it as an audible, and I'll play it on Audible. I'll listen in series, the 4 Agreements, the 5th Agreement, and then the Mastery of Love.
Yeah.
What I like about it, it really gets to the heart of people and relationships, and has a definition of what truth is and what truth is not.
Yeah.
And you're right. Every time I listen to it, I pick up something, and it just transforms me into a feeling of just, I am that much closer to the truth and to God.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I love that book. I love that book. And it's interesting. When I read it, it's kind of like, it just kind of like, I feel like it's the time. So like, I haven't read it in a couple, like maybe 2 or so years. And I recommended it last week to someone, and someone on the show said it was their favorite book that same day. And now you're saying it. So to me, it's a sign I need to listen to it again.
It's
So
incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
Yes. Listen to it again.
Yeah. All right. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
The best piece of wisdom I ever received was once someone said to me, it is not the weight of the load that drags you down, but the way that you carry it.
No, that's good. I love that. And last question, Charlie. You mentioned earlier about doing things that your competition didn't, and you were able to grow your business. What's one thing people can do to tune in to doing things a little bit differently that their competition is not, to really recognize what that is and then execute on it?
That's exactly right. That you need to have a certain amount of sensibility in terms that you can input into your product. You have to understand that people, whatever it is, service or product that you are trying to provide, likely there is some variation of it out there already. You need to provide it in such a way that you add additional value. I don't know if it's calling that person out, delivering it, in person, or it's something in the product itself, but it has to be unique. It has to be special. It has to set the expectations of the customer, and they have to feel like they are your only customer, and that product was made specifically for them.
Yeah, that was great. Charlie, I am a business coach. I work with people all over the globe, and I love to work with people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And I love this podcast because I get to have guests like you, Charlie, who help people with my mission of getting people unstuck. You shared so many great things today. I love this conversation, but I really want to kind of extract one thing that you shared at the very end, which is, they need to feel like your only customer. And I believe, as we record this live August 7th, 2023, that moving forward, the customization of things so people feel that is going to be a huge differentiator. Taking the extra time to leave the message, taking the extra time to clarify your message, taking the extra time to follow up a little bit more, taking the extra time to really be of service to our clients, I think is going to be absolutely more important than ever. Today has been, but today and also moving forward. Think community, think about making your customers feel that way. I do the same thing, Charlie. I do no contracts with my clients. I want them to feel like my only client. I am always accessible. I return every call, text, email every day unless I'm sleeping. It's so important. Think community, you can reach Charlie at micro-ant.com. You can also reach him on LinkedIn under Charles McCarrick. His book, Lessons My Brother Taught Me, is available, I'm assuming, on Amazon.
That's correct.
Yeah. And you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Charlie, a real pleasure to get to know you. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your story, your book, and your business. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it, John. I only wish we had more time. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great questions. Great questions.
We'll have you on again. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you,
Oh,
Charlie.
that'd be super. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Stay on for just a sec.
Oh.